If you want to know what rebranding some of the world's biggest names looks like, and how smaller studios with lower budgets can still execute beautifully, and how a sports team recently missed a huge opportunity with their new logo design, then it's all coming up in this month's brand review. Let's go! Hello designers, design fans, branding aficionados, welcome back to Flux, where we talk graphic design, freelancing, web design, branding, career, business, trends. My name is Matt Brunton and I am back with 5 brand identities in review. Let's see what we can learn. First up, M&M'S. That's quite a big name, right? Everybody knows M&M'S chocolate around the world. Comment if you've never heard of it. And this rebrand by Jones Knowles Ritchie, who are very well known. They were well known last year for doing the Burger King rebrand. And similarly, this has a lot of fun, a lot of bright colours, a little bit of a retro feel. It's quite loud. And it revolves around those simple elements. So they talk about the ampersand being a key element, this colour palette, which marries with the colour of the M&M's chocolate coatings, and the M, which is in this slab serif that's appeared on the candies for a long time. They've now built a custom typeface with lots of weights and widths to be able to carry all the headlines. Instead of it just being in the logo and they're using other companion typefaces, this slab serif is now carried through, and I think that's a really good addition. Some really interesting details here with the ink traps, and the colours I think I like. It's really bold and the solid colour feel makes it a lot more contemporary. I'm not sure if the whole inclusivity being expressed through the ampersand is coming through, if that's enough to do that, but I guess with the campaigns they're able to do that. So colour scheme, new typeface, flat style. Other than that, we have a style of animation. We've seen some of these examples, but that's it really. There's nothing else. And what I would like to see with something like this, and I guess there's time for it, would be how this rolls out. Like, how does this look on the packaging, the key element when you're choosing your candy? And how does it look on their website, things like that. I went to their website and it doesn't appear to have changed. I mean, this is a really ugly header section for such a big brand, and they're still using all these old fonts, not very attractive. This particular condensed typeface here, and these characters, which apparently have not been updated either, because I saw on the reveal video that these characters were still involved, and I think these are really outdated. I've seen a few other commenters suggesting this, and they just feel like they need a refresh. And in common with the flat style on the rest of their branding, why not create some new flat style characters? That would be a really contemporary style of animation, and that would really work. So I like what's been done, but I would have liked to see it go a lot further, and I'm interested to see what it's going to look like when it's fully rolled out. The next one features M&M'S again, but this is for a much smaller brand called LAMANNAS, which is a restaurant in Toronto, and this is from Contino Studio in New York. And this restaurant, which is a bakery with Italian heritage, does pizza and coffee, which is a strange combination. And you can see here the before and after. Now the before is pretty naff. It looks like one of the logos you might get from one of those freelancing platforms. You know what I'm talking about. We've got this X coffee thing at the top, which is bizarre. We've got 4 symbols to represent coffee. It's just ridiculous, and they look so dated and cliche, these X lockups with symbols. And then we also have a heraldic lion below it, and then a word mark, the word authentic, which just seems redundant. I guess that's when they were established. DAL, I guess that's from another language. Sorry, my lack of knowledge here. But what we have now is a real thing of beauty. We've got this Art Deco style. I even think the lion looks a bit like a Chinese dragon. And there is just so much more personality in it. Lovely line drawing, very stylized. We have the L of the initial here as a letter form within this lockup as well, and it makes the whole thing a really tidy little solution. The word mark as well has much more personality, and it's all in keeping together rather than the version on the left, which just had lots of different styles that just didn't chime together. And you can see that when you design a really solid mark, it makes it much easier to apply that and use that across other applications. You can see in different colors it still works. We have the color scheme here, which is fun, and on the packaging, really striking and solid. It just gives you a real impression of quality. This is not Photoshop. They genuinely make these huge pizza slice things, which is pretty scary. But if you think that's bad, wait till you see these desserts. You're just going to put churros or cookies on a slice. I'm not sure how many people are going to share this. Probably a portion for one, right? The diabetes inducer, new tagline for them. But this is great work. I mean, look how it is applied onto these sauce jars. Again, just a really solidly designed emblem can just work so well. And strong typography, it's just black and white and one color, but because the layouts are so good, that's all it needs. It stands out. It's got personality. Same on the coffee packets, really clear, but also bags of personality and fun style coming into this. So worth visiting Toronto, right? They actually make the point here, coffee and pizza is not a famous combination really, is it? But it's working for them. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. The website follows this whole style. It's kind of an 80s style here. Go and check that out for yourself. Why not put a whole jar of Nutella on top of like a 4-scoop ice cream cone? Crazy stuff. Love it. They've even got the merch, the t-shirts. This is the one occasion where I would wear a restaurant t-shirt. These are fantastic. They've really just brought a consistent style, restrained palette, and it really shows off the illustration style. So lovely work there from Contino. Now, the next project I feel is a little bit of a missed opportunity. And this is for Exeter Chiefs, who are a rugby team from the UK. And their logo, you can see at the top of this page. And then as we scroll down, we see the new one. Now, I've actually made this a little bit easier. I've created a little before and after that we can look at. So before, you might be able to guess why they have changed it. So like the Cleveland Indians and the Washington Redskins in the United States, these kind of symbols of Native America are appropriate in this culture, in sports teams, is something that feels very passé now. And I believe it was the National Congress of American Indians, sorry if I got that wrong, actually asked Exeter in November to change this logo and their references, and fans were wearing headdresses at away games and some of the other clubs were uncomfortable about it, so they needed to change it, which they have done. However, is it better? Perhaps culturally, this warrior here is from a tribe that is local to this area in the southwest of England, so maybe more culturally appropriate. But I think it's a big missed opportunity. Now, the things I like about it, first of all, I do like the perspective on this new warrior, because before we had this profile view and now we have this sense of perspective that's off axis. And I think that's cool. I think that works. But there's a lot of details that aren't quite right. The perspective is good. This guy's got a great tash and beard. I like the nose plate coming down from the helmet. But there's just too much detail. Do we really need this little twirly illustration on the ear covering? And then we've got part of, I guess, the clothing here, but it connects to the eye on Chiefs. We've got all these different colours going on because we haven't just got something that works fundamentally. Unlike the last one, if we could make it work in one colour and use the negative spaces intelligently, then we wouldn't need to have white for the light reflections and then these shadows in this darker yellow on top of the main mustard colour, and the eye looks like it's closed if you squint or zoom out. So they've had to put this white in there to try and make it look like it's open, but it still doesn't really work. And there's just too much there. Then we've got the red colour here, so we don't really need all these different colours. We just need something that's drawn properly to begin with and uses the solid spaces and the negative spaces properly, and it would work. The type, they have kept the same. And again, what a missed opportunity. I mean, this here kind of works because it's very American, this slab serif type style. You see that in some of the American sports teams, and it kind of chimes. But now, with this ancient warrior, it just does not fit. It totally jars. And we've got all these colours. We've got yellow and red, which is strange too. I'll come to in a minute. And I don't like the EXETER rugby type either, which is some kind of extended, bold, very square typeface. It's odd. The centre bar on the E almost reaches the end, but it doesn't quite. There's a few strange things about it. It's not very attractive. I think this star is because they've won some kind of trophy recently, but it imbalances the thing. Fair enough, put it on a shirt, but shouldn't be in the lockup. It just makes it look like this is central, but the other things are off center, even though my line wasn't straight. So there's a lot going wrong there, and I think if we look at their actual jerseys and such, we can see this. Like, their shirt is in this dark navy, and then their away shirt, which is in the turquoise. Here we've got the one colour chief of the old badge. And is this new one going to work in one colour? And then the bobble shows that their traditional colours are this very dark navy, almost black, and then this sky blue. But in the logo, we have red and yellow. So I don't really understand what's going on here. Big opportunity missed by EXETER Rugby Chiefs, or is it EXETER Chiefs? The type doesn't even read properly, so they need to clarify their name for those of us who are not aware of their entire history. So I applaud them moving to change it when they've been asked to, and I applaud this sense of perspective. Beyond that, missed opportunity. Number 4, from the ridiculous to the sublime, is the British Research Institute and International Research Institutes, and this is designed by Only from Manchester, England. And this is an academic and cultural organisation. And have a look at this combination mark. This is a really strong lockup. We have this really heavy weight both to the symbol and to this serif font. Lovely ligature here for the IRI, which is all connected, and it's just drawn beautifully, and the vertical stems look like columns, and you can see a lot of columns in this video in the background. It's very Greco-Roman, so it fits that historical style, and together it just makes a really solid, weighty combination, which chimes with the weight that you would want to place figuratively onto the research work and the academic papers and such. I really think this is a smart solution. Very ordered, very clean. It's incredible, this symbol, that it doesn't exist already. I'm sure a project of this size under the British Academy, they've trademarked it, but it looks like something you'd find in a logo modernism book, and I'm really surprised I haven't seen this before. Apparently the 8 points represent the 8 institutes, and then it's the star is that they're a leading light in the arts, humanities and social sciences. But it's just a solid symbol, isn't it? And these layouts, very Swiss influence, this modernist style really suits. I think we've got like a transitional sans serif here, and the grid layouts and the use of white space, they really suit this because it's an ordered design. It brings a feeling of calm, and that's appropriate for this kind of institution. Apparently the colours symbolise different regions of the world that they've worked in. Not sure about that, but I do think it's a really nice colour palette. We have this rusty red, and then this brown, this light blue, and this green. So it's kind of like RGB, but really clever tones that work well together. So it's vibrant enough for a little bit of interest, but it's not like oversaturated and loud, which wouldn't be appropriate for a research institute. So I think this all works really well, even though we've just got like a symbol, some combination mark, some typefaces, color scheme, and a general grid layout, but that's enough for this scenario. What you don't want to do is drown the content. We have this beautiful photography of this artifacts and this architecture, and that should be shown off, and also these shots from people in the field. The other thing that really comes across here is just good graphic design as much as identity design. So all these layouts really follow this ordered style. You can see the grid is on view, the way rules are used. There's lots of hierarchy with box out quotes and stats. I really like the numerals in this serif typeface that they've chosen. Very handsome, bit of personality, but still very classic. Overall, really solid. You can see more layouts if you go to this case study. We'll link to this in the description. You can see some of their style guides. Really useful to look at style guides and case studies of great studios. Helps us to understand how we should be building identity design schemes. So it's very instructive, this kind of thing. And overall, like I said, it doesn't drown the work. It shows it off. Ah, yes, it is harsh grotesque for the sans. I noticed it was a traditional sans, and Tobias is the serif they've chosen, and wordmark refinement by Rob Clark. Just give him a shout out because he gets everywhere. So not sponsored, I don't know Rob, but check him out because he is the man for word marks. You can see even their annual report, or this manifesto, it's like an annual report style. They've carried this through all the way. My only concern for this would be if it gets into the hands of other people, how will they execute it? So they're going to need skilled graphic designers who are able to do these sort of typographic layouts to really help sell the identity. Okay, finally, the big boy. How do you do a project on this scale? Visa. I would say that everybody in the world probably knows Visa. And certainly anybody who's got access to any sort of digital payments anyway. There may be some people off the grid. This is a big one. And they've rebranded a few times. And let's see how Mucho have approached it. So they've set up these design principles. Include everyone, everywhere. Number 2, lean into the future. Number 3, lead with the heart, balance with the head. I think there's about 6 of these. I won't read them all. But what they have done is they've introduced, in addition to this word mark, this symbol, which you may recall, that older viewers amongst us, was part of their credit card when they had these together in an emblem, which we'll see at the moment. So they've reintroduced these rectangles, this flag style. Here we go. So back from 1960 all the way up to 2002, they had an emblem design with these blue and yellow bars at the top and bottom, and then a Visa wordmark was in the center from 1977 onwards. In 2005, they jettisoned the emblem and just went to this wordmark, which they then updated in 2014, and now they're calling the wordmark the brand mark and the flag a brand symbol. Now, it's quite funny because they make a point in here about the reason for this identity. Where is it? Is about the fact that they're now a payments company. Here we go. More than a credit card company. But I have a good memory, and I've been in this design game for a little while, and I remember them saying when they ditched the emblem, it was to show that they were transitioning from a credit card company to a payments company. And now they're saying they're reintroducing these bar symbol because they're transitioning from a card company to a payments company. So you can't get one over on me, Visa. But it's quite interesting how these things work together. So let's see. So yes, it's going to look good on an app icon because it's just such a simple geometric form. I do like how they've gone for some brighter colors, and I think that's helpful. But this card's very minimalist here, but I'm not sure how these two things work together. We've got a word mark and a symbol, but it's not in a combination mark. They should always be separate, and they're shown in this animation on the left how they would appear, but on a card it looks a bit awkward, and obviously there's no core branding here as there would be on a real card with a bank. But the bright colours definitely work. This whole colour palette here is well executed because they're aware that you're going to need more options. In a huge company like this, there's going to be so many applications. So having some more options there for the designers is a really helpful thing to have. You see the merchandise. Who's going to drink out of a Visa water bottle? Unless you work there. You might struggle on that. We've got the icons here. I like the level of detail because we've got a 16 pixel, 24, 48 and illustration style getting progressively more complex. They've thought about that. There's a real level of detail. I would say with the icon set, let's just scroll to that. It's pretty generic. If it wasn't for the blue and yellow, would you know that this was Visa? But it's well executed, it's well drawn, it's perhaps a little bit passé, it doesn't have much personality, but it's well executed, and with the blue and yellow, it does make it identifiable. Neon, I'm not sure about that. These illustrations, we've got this line art style. The thing to remember with this whole identity is that it is so ubiquitous, Visa, it's in every country in the world, that they can't go too wild. This isn't an art gallery or an indie band or a clothing label for 16 to 25-year-olds in New York City. This is the definition of corporate. This has to be universal in some respects. So there's only so many risks you can take. And when it comes to the ugly word mark, let me just find a big word mark again so we can discuss it. I mean, the fleck on the V, I've never liked that, and it's been around for a long time, and it goes in the opposite direction to where the italics lean, and it unbalances the logo, the word mark, but they can't really change it because you see that and it's a sign of authority, of trust. And when it comes to payments, trust has got to be the most important thing. So I can understand that they're going to have to keep that, and I think they've updated where they can. The things that they have done, they've done well in the main. This cutout photography like Infinite White, I don't like it. It's generic. I don't get this guy with his doggo. I don't really get what that's got to do with Visa or payments. It just seems like something from a stock photography site. These sort of in situ shots, these sort of candid type shots are better photographs, but I don't really see a big link. But I guess they need to establish some sort of style, but I'm not sure if they've done that. The one thing I really do like is the type. So they have designed a typeface for this job, and they've gone for a humanist sans. So humanists are ones where there's a contrast between thick and thin stroke weights, and they're more like the humanist serifs. They're old style serifs are sometimes called, before we had transitional sans like Helvetica, so things like Gill sans, which is well known. And I think this is nice, and I think it brings in some personality, and you can see with some of the headlines, particularly the lowercase characters, I think are nicely drawn, and they are unique enough to bring in a little bit of personality. We can see it in this store, some of these applications here in this NFL store. End zone for the checkout. That's quite clever. I think they can get away with that one. A little play on words. Then we've got some mad 3D animations because you're going to use your budget if you're on a gig with Visa. These are kind of fun. And we see again brand elements in this brand book and style guides, definitely worth referring to for your own projects. So some really strong elements here, good colours. This merch is actually quite nice. I'm still not wearing a fleece with Visa on it though, that's not cool. And the pencil's nice, water bottles again. So I think looking at this whole style guide, I like the colour scheme. I like the typeface. Visa should definitely have their own typeface, a company of that size. The icons work, even though they're nothing out of the ordinary. The photography could use some more work. and you can't really get away with changing the word mark. So I understand why they've done what they've done, but perhaps they could have been braver in places, but perhaps that's just not possible. And it's interesting, they had a huge team working on this project. So it's worth remembering that if you're a one-person studio, that looking at these 3D animations and everything, they bring people in for literally every stage of the process. Somebody to design the typeface, somebody to design the icons, or multiple people, somebody to do illustrations, multiple photographers, merch partners, video companies, animators. So they would bring and assemble this kind of team and agency like Mucho. So if you want to work on projects of this scale, you might want to think about specializing so that you can be of use to these kind of agencies as a subcontractor, or go and work for one of them on the strategy side, or on one of the deliverables on the design side. Or if you want to do projects yourself, then it's good to look at these projects to be aware of the different elements in brand identity, but be aware that you'll have to do your version and have an element of skill and a level of skill in all these different areas, or bring people in as and when you need and when budget allows. That was our brand identity review for this month, but I can reveal that there's going to be a lot more branding content coming to the channel. So if that's your thing, make sure you subscribe to Flux. Keep the discussion going in the comments, and until next time, happy designing.